I was 15 years old when I walked into the rural library. My father was freshly dead and I was a middle school dropout, and we were poor. It was Christmas time, so the small public library was decorated for the holiday season with plastic crapola everywhere. And it was cold outside, and I had no winter coat. I stepped into the library with a blast of sleet and rain, and I was wearing a t-shirt, and my hair was soaked. "Where's your coat?" said the librarian. "I don't have one," I said. "You don't have a coat? It's 30 degrees outside." I shrugged. The librarian's name was Miss Terry. She was old enough to predate the Roosevelt administration. Her hair was cotton white, and her shoes were Reeboks, and her embroidered sweatshirt said, "Dear Santa, I can explain." The library was a converted residential house, and I was a regular there. I loved libraries. "You can't go around without a coat," Miss Terry said. "You'll freeze to death." I shrugged again. I wandered back to the fiction section. Fiction was all I was concerned with. I loved fiction then, and I still do. I read it morning, afternoon, and night. It was escapism, yes, and I see that now. And I was a classic escapist. But there were so few happy things in my life. Who wouldn't want to escape? Well, that day, I checked out 2 Louis L'Amour books and 1 Dick Francis novel, which was about horse racing. And when I brought my selection up to the counter, Miss Terry just looked at me with warm eyes, and she said, "I have a book that I'd like you to read." "You do?" Oh yes. And she placed a leather-bound book atop my stack of books, written by Lucy Maud Montgomery. She said, "I think you'll appreciate this one." I looked at it. I said, "It looks like a girl book." She said, "Try to keep an open mind." So I took the books home and I read them, the way I always read, ferociously. But when I read the Lucy Maud Montgomery book, time stood still for me. My heart moved sideways. I had never read a book with quite that level of tenderness packed within the pages. When I returned to the library a week later, Miss Terry asked how I liked the book, and I told her it was maybe the best book I had ever read. She smiled. I returned to my books and checked out more, and this time she placed another book atop my stack. This one was written by Laura Ingalls Wilder, another girl book. I took the books home, I read them in a frenzy, and just like before, I loved them. Laura Ingalls Wilder was very special, and it was immediately my favorite book. I brought the books back to the library. Miss Terry said, "How'd you like the books I gave you?" I said, "Well, I read it twice." She smiled, and then it happened. After Miss Terry accepted my stack of books, in return she gave me a wrapped box. The box was gift wrapped in glittery red paper, and there was a green ribbon wrapped around it. "What's this?" I asked. She said, "It's for you." "Is it another book?" "Why don't you just open it?" I tore the paper, and there was a winter coat inside, warm and fluffy. I cried when I put it on. She said, "We can't have you catching a cold and getting sick. There are too many books left for you to read. You might even want to write one of your own someday." I wiped my face and said, "One day I'm going to grow up and I'm going to write a book. And when I do, I'm going to write something about you and how you gave me this coat." She straightened my collar. She said, "When you grow up, you won't even remember me." Well, I sure showed her.